Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Terodrick. Lock in.
All right, hello, it's Kevin with Frenchies with Flair. I got
Ben Hood from Hoodlum Frenchies.
and
Roger Brooks from Paw Fish and the Frenchies.
this is our maiden voyage on the podcast, our initial introduction to us and to let y'all know what's coming, the exciting things we got planned, what we're hoping to get out of this, and hope to spread some educational information, some laughs, bust some myths about dog breeding and things like that. So we'll get into, I'm going to let T-Rod and Benny kind of tell y'all how they got started in the games and how we met and all of that. So, go ahead.
Man, it was a pretty short situation for me. I always wanted to do with dogs, and I always looked at bigger dogs, but I just didn't have enough room outside and enough time to deal with them.
Yeah.
So I had a brother-in-law that bred Frenchies, and he had been doing it for about 3 years, and I watched him for a couple, and I was like, hey, I want a dog. I want to get in with you. And he was like, well, whenever you're serious and you really want to do it, let me know. And I was like, all right, find me one.
That's the way it always works. Somebody's family member's got one, and then it goes from there. So
Yeah. And so he hit me up and he showed me a dog and he said, man, how you like this one? I was like, yeah, let's get it. And so we went and grabbed it, and the next day.
he fed you full of shit and got you hooked and told you was going to be a millionaire.
You didn't know he hated you that much, did you?
Yeah, it was the fluffies that got me, man. It was the fluffies, you know.
Yeah, it was the
around
fluffies.
that time, I think they were like 30, 40 grand,
Yeah.
maybe at bare minimum.
Yeah, they were crazy back in the day. So
Yeah,
and
Well, it's a good thing you drug me in later because
yeah.
you told us 6,500 and I told my wife, get your damn purse. We're leaving.
Yeah,
that is crazy because I never fathomed making that kind of money on a dog. I mean, that was
I still don't.
when I started with Boston Terriers. I was selling them for $250, $300. If I had a nice one, maybe $500 back and that was a lot of money back in the 90s. So, you know, I had to advertise it in the Thrifty Nickel and the newspapers and stuff. There was no social media.
Ain't nobody gonna know what the turkey nickel is. You
Well,
don't have to explain yourself.
They'll all be Googling it now, and that's fine. They'll show my age. But and you, Benny, you got in the dogs through Roger.
Well, yeah, because I drive through he live on the same road as me. So, like, when I bring my kids back every morning, when I go drop them off and I'm driving back by his house, I see this dude. I've known him for a while because I stopped and helped him jump the car off about 10 years prior to that.
Yeah.
So, we knew each other. And every morning I'd see him carrying this dog to the road. Now, I didn't know nothing about Frenchies. I've had labs and healers all my life. That's all I've ever had. And I didn't know nothing about Frenchies. And I don't even know what brought the conversation up with my wife. Like a month, 2 months later, it was late enough that he had a litter.
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, just my dream dog is a Frenchie." And I went, "Well, what the hell is that?" She started describing. I said, "Hell, this guy down the road got him." I said, "I know him. I bet you we get one." So sure enough, it wasn't just a day or two later when I come through. He's carrying that damn dog to the road to walk it and across his yard. And I stopped and said, "Hey man, I got two questions. One, I gotta know why you carrying that damn dog across that yard to walk it out here in the road?" He said, "Parvo, man." And I said, "Well, my wife wants one of them dogs. You know where we can get one?" He said, "I just had a litter." I said, "Well, shit, how much you want for one?" He said, "Probably like 8. And I went, "Shit, tore off, went home, walked in the house, told my wife, said, hey, what if I get you a dream dog for $800? She said, well, shit, let's go. Let's go. Well, that's how ignorant I was. I thought that's what it meant.
Yeah.
8,000 was, hell, I wasn't buying a car from him.
I thought he understood, man.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, it's crazy because we get so wrapped up in the breeding and we forget this. The average person doesn't realize how much these dogs really sell for. So, I mean, even with the market down a little bit now, I mean, there's the anomalies out there. And that's one of the myths we're going to debunk in some of these episodes that we got going on is quality and price and all of that. But that's kind of funny because, and that's how y'all met. Me and Benny met. Well, me and Terodrick met at the first Frenchie Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So we got to finish that because we did go to his house right then. And we talked, and then they realized my wife and him went to school together.
Yeah.
And so in the course of that 2-hour-long conversation, he went, shit, since it's y'all, 65. And I thought, man, I even told him, I said, man, don't cut yourself like that. $65, that's an insult, man. Don't do that. He goes, no. And he laughed. He thought I was playing. He said, no, 6,500. No, you bullshitting. He's no, it's 6,500. I told her, get your damn purse. No, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
That's funny because me and T-Rod met at the first Frenchie Bowl, and then Benny bought a dog
out of California. Yeah. Well, I took it in on co-own. She had a lot of aggression issues, and she did live up to that billing for sure.
Right.
But she come with a credit to Flair.
Right. She come.
But I didn't know that.
Right. At the time, he didn't know that. She came with a rebreed to Flair. I had bred to this dog. This lady had paid for a breeding to Flair, and she ended up only having 2 puppies. I think one might have passed away. I don't remember the whole situation, but I told her she had a rebreed, and I never heard from her again on that dog. She tried pawning that female off on me and told me, here, just take this. If you want, would you take her in? I told her, no, I don't want her if she's aggressive because my oldest female and her will fight. Fast forward.
To the death. I promise you it would have been to the death.
I know it had to be probably right around 2 years. And she hit me up and she was like, hey, can I still have that rebreed? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, I co-own the dog with somebody in Texas. And I was like, well, where at in Texas? And she was like, Jacksonville, Texas. I was like, well, that's odd because I just moved to Tyler. They're like right down the road from me. So that's the first time me and Benny met. He had his own theory on me.
No, it wasn't a theory. It was based in past behavior.
Because I never forget
certifiable Facebook behavior.
Yeah, I was at work and I'll never forget looking online.
Yeah.
And I seen you said, we're moving to Tyler.
Yeah.
And I called Benny and I said, man, you see who just moved East Texas to the deeper part of East Texas right by us? He said, who? I said, Ric Flair. I said, it's finna get ugly around this son bitch when it comes to studs.
I said, great.
He said, I got to breed to that damn dog. I'm finna call right now. That's gonna make it easy for me.
Yeah. But there was a whole deal before that where I was like,
yeah,
where I was going back and forth with you because me and Aaron was arguing about it, like whether to even utilize that because I was like, man, I don't know if I want to mess with this man. He always, and then you told me that story about him rolling up on them people selling them dogs at Walmart. And I was like, I just don't mess with this guy. And I told Sarah, like, I don't, man, we could just use one of my studs or one of my credits. I got credits.
Right.
And T-Rod, he's the one that told me, he said, hey, regardless of what you think about him, Ric Flair worth it.
Yeah. And that's what I tell everybody. It really doesn't matter who owns the stud.
Right.
Sometimes you got to overlook the idiot that's pushing the stud and just use the dog because it betters your program. While I have one persona on Facebook, I'm not going to say it's not that way in real life too, but my customer service is on point.
Oh, it was. Well, you're a lot more I don't want to say tolerable because that seems, but in person it is different. It's
a mild version of.
Well,
Facebook.
it's how you actually act, not how you act in my mind.
Right.
When I see the Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's and that's the thing is I do talk a lot of shit on Facebook.
I had never seen that side though until later. So that's what I was telling you. I was like, man, I met him at the show. He's a pretty cool dude at the show, man. I was like,
But
I only seen that online.
A lot of people think I just started talking shit because I ended up with Flair and we produced Flair and that I got the... No. My Facebook just turned like 15, 16 years old. It's old enough to drive. You can go see. You can go all the way back 16 years.
You ain't gonna convince me. I'm
that way. But I've been that way my whole life. I grew up that way. I mean... I don't have a filter between my brain and my mouth, so if it comes in my brain, it's going to come out of my mouth. And with social media, it goes straight to my fingertips, and I type it out, and I put it on there, and I let the chips fall where they may, and sometimes it's a deterrent to people, and because I know Benny thought that I was just getting on Facebook and having drunk rages, and
I thought you was a raging alcoholic,
and I haven't drank any alcohol in 25 years, so
I didn't even think it was beer. It had to be some kind of whiskey.
I'm just
Jack Daniels or something.
I'm just naturally mouthy, and I've taken my fair share of ass whoopings in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But I'm still talking, and I will till they put me in the ground, and I'll probably get run out of the cemetery for talking in my coffin. I don't know, but that's me. But if you pay attention, a lot of my rants have a lot of truth in them. So, and then...
Well, stuff that's controversial usually is based in truth.
Right.
That's what causes the controversy, because one person sees that truth one way and one person sees it another.
And that's... And it gets under people's skin. I would be a liar if I said here... I mean, a lot of what Flair has become is our hard work, but to start off with, to get his name out there, when I took a shot at Isaac and Teddy Grahams, and Isaac responded, I had him hook, line, and sinker, because now I had his whole audience watching this little spat between me and him, and it drove a lot of clientele to me. And then when we showed up at Frenchie Ball and we put them all on the table, that just kind of set us into a world of where we are now. I was never a stud guy. I didn't want a stud. I just wanted to do females because it was easy to sell puppies. I was selling puppies for $10,000, $15,000. Nobody even knew who I was, and I thought, man, this is the greatest thing ever. If I can have a litter of 5 and I can make $40,000, $50,000 on this litter, and I do that 2 or 3 times a year, what do I need a stud for?
Man, I was the opposite. I didn't want nothing to do with the stud. Well, I was the same in the beginning, but then I thought, I'm going to try it with stud, and we got Abel, and he started working on a smaller scale than what you're talking about. But the first time I had to ship to Ohio and things didn't go right for her breeding, that's when I decided, man, this stud game stuff, it's a lot of work. Especially if you care. That's the thing. If you care,
right?
Like it's a lot of work,
right? That's the trials and tribulations of a stud. If you ain't really ever pushed one and you got to start shipping, a lot of Flairs we put in over 300,000 miles with Flair, but the maddest I ever had a client, and it was at the beginning of shipping, and we were actually packing up, and I learned a lesson. We were packing up to head out of town to go do a breeding with Flair, and this customer that had locked in Flair and wasn't supposed to breed for a couple months, she was waiting on a female to come in. One of her co-owns came in, and she decided, I'm going to go ahead and use that credit. So she hit me up as we was literally fisting to walk out the door, and so I pulled my extender out of the ice box and put it in one of the little vials to warm it up, just the amount I need. And I have the semen in the other vial, and then I mix it in, and whatever's extender's left, I'll put back in. But I had probably 5 cc's of extender left in that vial, and I had my vial of semen ready to ship, and I didn't pay no attention, and I just reached down and grabbed a vial and stuck it in that styrofoam, put it in the box, packed the ice, put the ice pack on it, taped it up, drove to Amarillo from Lubbock, an hour and a half, 2 hours out of my way to get this box on the plane, shipped it off, didn't think nothing of it, thought we're golden. I checked it under the microscope, everything was good. Later on that afternoon, I get a message from that lady with a video telling me, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I don't know, what is that? And she was like, this is what you sent me. And it was clear as a bell in that vial. And I was like, oh, no, that ain't what I sent you. So she's telling me, yeah, it is. There's no semen in this. And I'm thinking, nah, you're lying, lady. You're trying to pull a fast one on me because I'm a new stud owner. And then it hit me.
Oh, you seen it in your mind. Like it all come back like deja vu.
And so we called Brienne's mom, and she went over to our house and looked, and sure enough, there was a vial of semen laying on the counter. And I had to apologize to this lady. I sent her money back. Instantly told her, I'm sorry. Sent her money back. And I even offered to drive to Wisconsin because I was already headed north. I told her, look, the lady that wants to breed to him, she ain't paid me. This is before I sent her money back. I said, she hasn't paid me. I'll tell her I can't because I've already got your money and I've got to go to Wisconsin and knock this breeding out. She just wanted to cuss me. And I took this cussing from this lady for 2 weeks. Even after I sent her money back and all that, I knew I'd screwed up, so I just kept taking the cussing. Now, this lady would get drunk at night. And she would turn out these god-awful texts to me. And we ended up in Tennessee to do a breeding, and I tried to never bust down in front of one of my customers and show that side of me. So we're standing in front of the vet's office, just finished this breeding with Flair and this other customer, and she starts on one of her rants. But she made the mistake at this time of calling me. So it ain't through text, so she ain't got no screenshots. She probably recorded me, and that's fine. But I finally had to tell her, look, lady, I gave you your money back. And she was like, well, my dog missed anyways. And I was like, I don't know why it missed. You got other semen shipped to you, and it was there within 3 hours. You bragged to me about that. I said, if your dog didn't take it, wasn't going to take with flare semen earlier today. 4 hours is not going to make you miss a breeding. And I finally told her, look, I'm in Tennessee. If it pisses you off that bad, I'll drive to your house in Wisconsin and me and you can fight. If it's that big a deal to you, lady, I said, but if you call me or message me one more time, I said, I've done everything I was supposed to do. I said, yes, I screwed up. I said, but I sent you your money back. I sent you your shipping back. I said, every dime you paid to me, I sent back. I said, and I'm sorry. You know, so after that, I was extra careful when I was shipping semen. Now when I ship semen, I get reports back that people tell me, oh, the vet says that's the best shipment they've got, blah, blah, blah. That's what I want. But owning a stud is crazy work if you screw up. I mean, that is...
Yeah.
But I only had to refund, well, I refunded three stud credits. One of my first shipments showed up dead. The guy ended up having to use one of his studs. I instantly sent him his money back. No questions, no argument. He hadn't even asked for it. And I sent it back to him. And he told me, well, I was going to go ahead and keep the credit. And I told him, well, when you get ready to use him again, pay me then. But this is your money and you can't have it tied up with me and I can't get my job done. And then the other one was to a big breeder out in Utah that I know lied. I know she lied. Mindy Booth is the biggest liar in the damn dog game. Scar scam artist. I went to Retrospect in Dallas and had him pulled, had the semen analysis done on him. They packaged it, they shipped it, they done everything because that's what she wanted. And when she got there, she couldn't even find, there was not even a swimmer on the microscope that she was showing me a video of. They don't disappear. Even if they die, they're still there. Nothing. It was empty. And even the people from Retrospect told her she was a liar. I said, but I still refunded her money. Funny thing is, she didn't pay the stud fee. One of her partners paid the stud fee. He called me a year later. He's like, hey, I was wondering if I could get that breeding to Flair. And I was like, what breeding? He's like, the one that me and Mindy had paid for. I said, I refunded her that money. He said, what do you mean you refunded her that money? I said, that day. I said, she told me there was no swimmer. She wanted her money back. I said, we had a big knockdown drag out. I said, I sent her money back. He was like, that was my money. I said, well, she had sent it to me. He said, yeah, because I gave her cash. I said, well, she got it back. And I sent him the receipts from where I sent it back on Cash App. And he was like, man, that's dirty. And I said, it is. I said, but you don't have a breeding to Flair. I said, if you want one, we can make it happen. I said, but you don't have one that's paid for. So there's a lot of things that go on in the dog game that people like to bury. And you got to learn from your mistakes. And pushing the stud, if you don't have that stud, you're going to get some breedings, but it's not what everybody makes it. It's not Flair numbers, Teddy Graham numbers, Willy Wonka numbers, King Kong numbers. Very few dogs run those kind of numbers. They've got to be the one-offs. You know, when Flair came along, there was only really him and Wonka and Teddy Grahams, the Rojo and Tan Fluffies at that time. So they were picking between three of us, and I was wearing their ass out online.
It's the elite level, right? Like it's so like there's only 1% of football players that ever make it to the NFL, but you know there's more in college, there's way more in high school. It's like that. Like us, like, speaking of owning studs, so like on that first shipment that I ever did, I went to another breeder that shipped all the time. She helped me package it up so I didn't screw it up, and then when it gets there, I get a call from Miss Donna talking about this a poor sample. And I went, who said that?
Right.
she said my repo person. And in my heart, I know like either something happened in shipping, but the person that we packed it with, like it was good. They do this all the time.
Right.
And other people that I talked to, we were doing the exact same thing, the 1-to-1 and all that, and using the same extenders. And I couldn't figure out what it was, so I had her send me a video.
Right.
And I hit up. Originally, I hit up the breeder that helped me pack it, and she was, I don't see a problem. And I went, well, this is a bias. I can't call her and go, your repo person is, full of shit. So I called James Shopping, and it's like 10:30 at night. Now, the man answered his phone, and I said, hey, I paid that little membership of yours so I could call you, so I hope you don't think I'm just intruding, but I have a situation. Right. This woman in Ohio that I sent this sample to says it's a bad sample. Can I send you the video she sent me? And he said, yeah. And then he told her, okay, I need to know how many days it was in transit. He asked me a few follow-up questions. He goes, he said, I don't see a problem with it. Yeah. He said, she should have no problems if her girl's at the right, conceiving.
Right.
And so she didn't conceive, though. So I never called her back and just called her on it and said, no, your repo person is full of shit.
Right.
And I think they had a snowstorm. I can't remember all the details, but she ended up missing. And I felt horrible. And there ain't nothing wrong with what we did, but waiting 6 months to make it right is torturous, whether she believed it or not. And then when the second breeding come, she called me like on a Thursday and told me her girl was a real low number. It was like an 8 or something like that on a Wanfo or a 4 on ID. I can't remember. She wasn't even close to ovulation yet. And then on Saturday, she called me. She's ready. Well, I didn't answer I was out mowing the yard. Right. So I didn't know that she'd even called for like 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
And then when I called her back, well, now it's Saturday, we're on the clock, I couldn't get it down there in time. And this is when I involved you. Right. Because she was just, this is a disaster. And now I'm like, oh man, she gonna think this is how I handle my business. I just keep screwing up for this woman. Right. And, we ended up telling her, well, on your advice, we'll ship it. And you do a TCI on the next day, she'll be good. That'll be 3 days off ovulation. Now she ended up having 2, but that could be her female. We'll never know.
And that's the thing people don't understand. It's who handles the semen. That's the questions I ask when they call me and tell me it ain't good. I want to know who handled the semen and how they handled it. I've had people drop the sample in a hot glass of water to try to warm it up. Instantly shocked them all and killed them. And just for y'all breeders out there that know, and I don't care what anybody tells you, do not put the chilled semen in a warm glass of water, any kind of water. Just stick it under your armpit and warm it up gradually. I promise you, you'll thank me later on semen. All these little methods of warming up semen is crazy. Don't do it. Your body temperature, you need to knock the chill off of it. Get it warmed up enough that you're not going to kill them when you put them in the female.
Why would your body temperature? Just a question. Why would your body temperature pre-insertion make any bit of difference? Why not? Why couldn't you just put the chilled semen in her and let it warm her body temperature inside her? Because I've heard people say
right,
that.
but if you rotate it in the tube, it's all concealed. It's all in the tube. You know what I'm saying? So if you put it in there, it's just like holding a glass of water, cold water. It don't instantly get hot from your hand. It gradually.
So why wouldn't that work inside?
Because it's spread out, so it's instantly killing them. They're hitting hot automatically. You know what I'm saying? It's not a gradual warm up. Some people will tell you to put it in cold. It'll work fine. Maybe not. I mean, there's so many ways that it's done, but if my customers will follow what I tell them, they will be successful. The semen will live. They will have their litter, and we don't have to worry about a rebreed. But I've had them take it and put the box in the freezer and freeze the semen. I've had them put it in a refrigerator that, and I'm the world's worst about this. My sodas will come out with nearly ice in them. So if you put it in the refrigerator and its refrigerator's that cold, you can freeze that semen and it's no good. I tell my customers, if the ice pack is still frozen, take the first sample out, put it in her, put the ice pack back in there. Because most of the time we do same day shipping, airport to airport. So, and a lot of people do overnight. So that ice pack will last overnight. So when you get it in a few hours, just take your first sample out, heat it up, and do the breeding, but leave the other one in there with the box, put it on the counter. It's not going to hurt nothing. It's going to stay chilled. You're going to be good. People do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're repo people that are not really repo people. I'm sorry, just because you can buy a machine, you can buy AI tubes, if you don't put education behind it, it's going to be a failure. They can charge you all they want, but if they don't know, and there's simple questions you can ask one, and as soon as I get them on the phone, I ask them a few questions, and I can tell you whether or not they screwed up my shipment.
Do you have them spin it down?
I do not. When we first started shipping, we would spin it down before we shipped it and add the extender. And we done all right number-wise with that. But I had the vet in Tennessee. When I went to that vet in Tennessee and done that breeding that time, me and him was talking about it. They're very highly respected reproduction clinic up there, and he asked me how I would ship it out, and I told him. He said I wouldn't spin it down first. He said I would do my extender and ship it out. He said now a lot of vets will spin it down after they get it.
Well, that's what I was talking about before you insert it. Would you
right?
It
well, a lot of vets will. He said him personally, again, he doesn't. He warms it up. Of course, he had a little machine that he showed me that he can put it in that gradually warms it up. He said even slower than your body temperature will. He said, but he said he takes it and inserts it. He asked for how much extender was put in it and all of that, so he can get a legitimate semen count. When he puts it all in his big semen analyzer or whatever, he'll put X amount of semen, X amount of extender, whatever, and it gives him a true count of what was there. He said, but again, there's a million ways to do it, and when I'm breeding, I wait. I tell everybody, the biggest false narrative is, her numbers is too high, we've already missed her. That's baloney. If you know when she ovulated, it doesn't matter what the numbers get to an extent. I mean, you don't want to wait 2 weeks later, but if you're testing her and you know she's in ovulation, and then you test her the next day and her numbers have skyrocketed, you didn't miss your breeding. For me, once I get a dog in ovulation, I'm not testing again, because they're not going to back out of it. I said, and if I do test, it's just to make sure that my initial test is right, but I don't care if her number spikes. I'm not breeding for 24 to 48 hours after ovulation anyways. Period, point blank. If I'm taking ship semen, I am not hitting that dog for 72 hours after ovulation. I haven't missed. It's a fail-proof system. It works for me. Everybody has their own theories, but I get tired of, and a lot of repo people do this too because they own studs. So when people go in and their numbers are high, they tell them, oh, if you don't breed right this minute, you're going to miss. So we know you already paid this stud fee over here, but if you'll pay me my stud fee, I'll let you use my dog right now. You know what I'm saying? Or if you only paid a lock-in over there, I'll knock $500 off of my stud fee to cover your lock-in cost over there, what you was fixing to spend, and just breed to my stud. So everybody does that. As to where I'm kind of the opposite in when somebody hits me up about a stud, if my stud isn't the stud for them or what they're looking for, I'm going to send them to who I believe has the stud to give them what they want. It's funny because I was on a call with my partners Kim and Brandon a couple weeks ago, and Kim had somebody in her inbox and she was telling them that she was talking to me and all of that, and they were like, oh, I know Kevin, he's the one that sent me to y'all to use koi grams. They didn't even know I sent him, but that's what he was looking for. And I told him, well, if you want to go koi, and that's what the hot market is right now, this is the dog to breed to. You know, I didn't make nothing off of it, didn't expect anything off of it, didn't even call them and tell them that I was sending somebody their way. When that guy gets there, that's their customer, that's their money, I don't care.
But now that you just told that, they can make checks payable to.
Right. You know, but we have a great relationship, and this is what I tell everybody, my partners. I give Brandon a lot of credit. I do, but so I went to a show in Oklahoma. This is how me and Brandon really met. I went to a show in Oklahoma, and Brandon showed up. Now Brandon is partners with Isaac, the owner of Teddy Grams at Showtime Reproduction. Him and Isaac are very good friends. And he shows up and comes and finds me talking about, hey, we need to work together. We need to... And I was really standoffish. And I was like, yeah, okay. Frenchie Bowl 2 was in 2 weeks after that. I went home and I told Brienne, I said, man, I don't know what these guys in Dallas are trying to pull on me. I said, I think Isaac and Brandon trying to pull something on me. And she said, why?
I can see that.
And I was like, man, that fool drove all the way to Oklahoma to talk to me, talking about cone and dogs and stuff. I said, I don't believe that, you know. And she said, what'd you tell him? I said, well, I told him I'll see him in 2 weeks at Frenchie Bowl. We'll discuss it. And I said, if he's willing to talk to me in front of everybody at Frenchie Bowl and all the big names are going to be there, I said, I'll put a little more trust in him. So it rocked on, and him and Kim invited us outside. They had rented a Sprinter van. They had invited us out there, and I was looking for a stud, and it ended up not being at Frenchie Bowl. So I went out there and I asked Brandon, what do you got that's Rojo and tan that I can use? He said, I got Robezilla. I said, all right. I said, you know, and I paid him the stud fee because my female was in heat. She needed to be bred the next day. And I told him, all right, paid him the stud fee. I told him I'll stop by in the morning on the way out. I'll pick up a box. I'll take it home, do the breeding. All right. Well, we got to talking, and he was like, well, I really want to go on a dog with you and all that. And I asked him point blank, I said, how's this going to work? I said, you know, me and Isaac are not best friends. We don't. I said, that's your partner. I said, I talk a lot of shit. I said, I talked a lot of shit about him and Teddy Grams. I said, how's this going to work? And he said, you're my partner. He said, it ain't got nothing to do with them. And I was like, if you got the balls to do it, so do I, you know. And that's kind of where it kind of blew. We didn't do anything right then. We left and kind of went our own ways. And that January, he hit me up and asked me about Cone and Rocky Rope. And I went and picked him up, sold some stud fees to him. And then we moved down here, and we ended up, Rocky just wasn't the dog to push, you know, and we just kind of went our own ways, and we amicably split. We found Rocky a new home. Everything went great. I just wasn't really pushing dogs. We kind of took a year off, and I went fishing. I had kick the hornet's nest as long as I could kick it, and it was out there, and I was already tired because we'd been on the road with Flair for all that time, and I was just burnt out. I needed to step back. So we stepped back. I went fishing. And then we did a breeding with koi grams. We ended up losing some puppies off of that because we had to travel because Brienne's mom was passing away at that time. It was just a nightmare for us. But I hit them back up because I was like, I'm going to repeat that breeding because those puppies turned out very nice. And so we started talking about that again, and they were like, "Hey, well, we got this little black and tan merle." And I told them, I can't use a black and tan merle on my yard. We got rubble with this Isabella merle. I said, I got Flair that's a Rojo. I said, I got Flair Grams that's a Rojo Pied. I said, anything less than a Rojo, I can't. I said, I need a Rojo Koi. I said, and I can sell stud fees to it. And they was like, well, we got one. And I was like, where is it? And they was like, 24 karat koi. Of course, he's covered in cream, but I can deal with that. We'll get past that, but they've been very good. I mean, it's beneficial, just like,
Well, but with 24 karat though, that he's not a traditional cream,
right?
Because it bleeds back through with the husky pattern. It bleeds back through, and he actually has a pattern that shows. It's
right. He is, and he's very small, very compact. He's going to be a very beautiful dog. He's going to produce some badass babies. People's just got to get over that 2 copies of cream, and because this is the way I say it. Yeah, your female might carry cream, and you might get some creams on that litter, but if you get lucky enough to hit that one Rojo Koi, full fluffy big rope, that's a big money dog right now. I don't care who you are, you can get big money for that dog right now. And there's not a lot of dogs that DNA wise you can say that about right now that you could sell.
It's because everybody's got it.
Everybody's got the DNA, but again, Rojo is so hard because everybody was stuck with lilacs and platinums and all of that, and that's where
I'm everybody.
The cream. That's why everybody's tired of the creams because everybody bought in on that platinum stuff, and paid outrageous numbers, only to find out now you can't get rid of the cream as easy as you want to. It ain't, I don't care if a dog Flair is the world's worst about it. I bred him to a female that only carried cream, and they had a litter of 7, and 6 of them was cream dogs between the 2 of them. It's a crapshoot, and I get why people don't want it, but even at that one dog was still a Rojo, and it was still a visible Rojo, and to be able to make money.
Well, I did 2 to him. It had 9 puppies total.
Yeah.
6 of them were cream.
Right. So see, and that was to a cream dog.
Well, one of them was, and the other one just carried.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So it happens, but it's just one of those. It's a calculated risk, and if you're trying to build your yard, don't worry about it. Just keep the best looking cream female or male off of that you're going to build with, and run it to dogs that don't carry cream. I know they're hard to find, but they're out there.
Well, that's why I kept those 2 girls, and that one turns out she's supposed to. We'll see. Right. She's supposed to be the perfect recipe to go to El Jefe because you got to have a copy of cream.
Right.
She's covered in cream. She's a Merle, Cocoa Merle.
Right.
And tan, covered in cream. And I'm going to run her to El Jefe, and we're going to see if that EA display thing is true. You got to have just one copy of cream.
Right. That'll be an awesome breeding, and we know what you did with the other one.
Yeah, we do. Just keep that to ourselves.
We'll just keep that one to ourselves for right now.
I do think T-Rod needs to tell. You was talking about bad samples and this and that. Like T-Rod has the other side of the story where he actually paid for a $100 breeding and got a bad sample. And I don't want to tell the story, but like the person that done the examination said she could count the semen with her
that's.
And she said
there is.
She said she could count it with her hand.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. A lot of these studs out there, especially a very hard work stud, you can get a dip in semen count pretty regularly there's a whole regimen I went through with getting Flair and why we were so successful in Flair hitting and his semen count staying as high as it was. But that's like a whole episode I'd have to go over it to make people understand it's just not just a single thing to. That's a long conversation. There's a lot of work that goes into having a stud that works a lot and can work multiple times a day and not have a big drop in it. You're going to have some, but like I said, we did dogs. We traveled with Flair. It was vacation all the time. Everywhere we went, we got to see something new. Got to find a new casino to play in, or something new to see. I mean, we went coast to coast twice. Furthest I ever drove one direction for a breeding for somebody was 21 hours.
So what you saying is you was Flair Gump?
That was it. I mean, we never knew when we would get in a vehicle. Like when we first started working Flair, we checked in on January 7th in a hotel in Dallas. We checked out of that hotel on March 14th because we couldn't get away from it because everybody was coming to breed to him. That was when he was first open. I didn't think we was ever going to get to go home. So for
that's not a terrible thing though, because you collected money the whole time.
Oh my God, that's the other thing we had when we left Frenchie Bowl with all those lock-ins, and Flair wasn't working at that time. It was still a little bit before we had his semen count up and ready to go, and him of age. That was the most nervous I'd ever been because nothing can happen to this dog till all those breedings are complete because I've got all of these people's money now, and to this day, Flair has never spent a night away from either me or Brienne. One of us has always been with him. She won a damn trip to Miami in February, wants me to go, and I am having a hard time leaving Flair anywhere because that's just me. I have protected this dog. It's been crazy. We've been in some crazy places with that dog.
You're going to have to ease up on that because now you're going to have a hard time finding anybody to watch it for you. You're going to keep emphasizing how much you attach this dog, and then if you ask me, I'm like, I'm not taking that. Not taking that responsibility.
It's that once in a lifetime thing. Anything you got, you don't. I've had a stud die in somebody else's care before, and the dude was a breeder, long time breeder. I gave him a list of stuff, and it was a bully. I gave him a list of stuff that this dog could not do. Number one was don't leave this dog outside all day because he was an exotic bully. He can't handle the heat. He literally picked that dog up at noon. We met. I lived down here. He lived in Lubbock. We literally met in Eastland at noon. He picked that dog up. Take him 3 hours to get home. He gets home at 3 o'clock. At 6:30, I get a text, my dog's dead. He had went in his house, got high, and forgot that he let the dog out to use the bathroom, and he had a heat stroke. So I get very nervous, and I am very...
I can't believe he admitted to that.
Well, at first he didn't.
Oh, so he said, I said, man, he would run off.
But I knew him long enough to know, and I finally called him out on his bullshit. I said, man, don't lie. You got home. You hadn't smoked no weed the whole time on the road. You got home. You let that dog outside. You got high and forgot you had another dog. I said, because you had just went and picked him up. You forgot you had another dog at your house. I said, and then you found him when you walked outside to go somewhere. I said, don't bullshit me. I said, I know that's what happened. And he finally admitted. And the things I wanted to do to him would have put me in jail for life. But you live and you learn. And that's what I told him at the end of the day. I said, you know what? It's my fault. Should have never let you take my dog. Should have never let you take my dog because he'd still be here if it wasn't for that. So you live and you learn. And that's what everybody's got to understand is when something happens, you have to take responsibility for your own shit too. I mean, there's a lot of crybabying on Facebook about, oh, my partner done this, my partner. Well, what was your part in it? You just, you delivered the dog to him. You didn't have to. You could have done something different. So that's what gets me. I mean, shit happens in life.
I think T-Ross should tell that story. You ain't got to mention no names, but because it ended up having a good ending, even though they could count swimmers.
Right.
You gonna tell it?
Yeah, I guess
You should.
I'll give y'all some insight on it. So,
Yeah, because if nothing else, it goes like no matter what you get, go on take that chance.
yeah, that is true because I'll say was very disappointed. More like pissed off and ready to fight.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, you drive about an hour and a half away to go pick up a sample. After you and your co-owner, we both get off work. We take the female. We go get her tested. Mind you, we've been keeping up with it all week. We've been staying in contact with him from first blood. You know, from the first time you see blood, you contact him, let him know, hey, don't know how she's going to spike, but I'll keep you in touch with you and let you know how the numbers are. So we did everything according to her, you know, letting us know when the time was. And so we hit him and said, hey, she's ready to go. We need the semen.
Right.
We're trying to come pick it up. And he says, well, I can't pull the dog right now. It's like 8:30 at night.
Right.
And I was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? I've had people, I've taken my dogs personally and had them pulled at 11:30 at night just to ship semen the next morning so that it gets there on time so that I'm not getting stuck with anything. So that's your responsibility as a stud owner is to make sure, long as people tell you what the progesterone numbers are, you're supposed to make sure you produce the semen whenever it's time.
That's the truth.
It has nothing to do with time of day or night it is. I've never heard that before. So
well, I always tell everybody I need to know, especially if we're doing FedEx, I need to know by 3 o'clock in the afternoon what her numbers are so I can get him pulled and get it dropped off at FedEx before they cut the overnight shipping off.
Right.
Now, when you have a airport to airport shipping account, that really doesn't matter because I can take it to the airport pretty much any time of the day, get it there in a few hours.
Right.
But yes, there is. But here's the other problem in that. If you're going to own a stud, you should know how to collect that stud and package that stud for shipping. Because if you've called and you've done all of your part right, but he don't answer the phone, like Benny said, maybe he was out mowing the grass or something. He missed the call, but it's his fault because he didn't call you back for 3 hours. Well, now he's let the vets and everywhere close that pull his dog. That's not your fault. That's his fault. So he either needs to refund the stud credit.
Well, see, that was the thing. He had to have on the stud credit for like 2 years because every dog that was locked in, when it came time to breed to the dog, I couldn't see the dogs personally like we were supposed to. Not even on video, nothing. And so I'm like, hey, man, my dog is getting close time. I want to see that boy in person or see him on video. Oh, man, I'll show you when I get home. Things like that. Nothing ever happened. So we kept switching from dog to dog. But every time we would switch to a dog, it would be a dog that I inquired about, that I liked, that he had, that was a new stud. That wasn't supposed to go to this female, but it was a good stud that I would want to use somewhere in the future. So when I would ask about the studs, he would just switch it to the stud that he thinks that I've already asked about. And I say, well, that's still too good of a breeding to go to the female that I want to use it on. So I'll hold that one and I'm going to just do something else with her and I'll come back to you. But then when we come back, it's the same thing. So 3 different dogs, same thing. Finally, we get down to this last dog. He's out here. He's making a lot of headway. Very known dog. Very known breeder. The dog has litters like they haven't dropped yet, but he's pretty much breeding like every day.
Right.
And there was I'll put this out there. People will probably figure it out. Some people will figure it out. Some people won't. The guy made a post on his story saying that the dog had did over 20 breedings.
Well, you didn't leave a lot of vagueness to that.
Yeah, the dog did over 20 breedings in less than 20 days. So with that being said, the dog is being heavily worked, things like that. But I'm doing my part. Like I said, we're keeping up. We're letting him know. So we call him and say, hey, the dog is ready. We're trying to come pick up the semen. You don't have to ship it. We're coming to pick it up. Now, mind you, you've already had half your stud fee for 2 years.
Right.
Now, we're telling you, we're finna come tonight, and we're finna pay you and pick up this sperm. You don't want to get up and make. We're finna bring you $1,500, all blues.
Right.
We're not asking you to get up out of bed and for free.
Right.
You know, none of that.
Yeah.
And so it's all these reasons why you can't pull the dog, or my brother isn't around, this, that, or the other. So we finally get him to pull the dog. He said, man, I can make a post, man. You're doing me wrong. Man, I shouldn't have to pull this dog like this. You put me in a bad spot. I was like, bro, I've had semen come all the way from New York. And the guy pulled the dog every day because he couldn't get it shipped out because of the weather back then. So you being an hour and a half away, you don't have to even drive to me. We're driving to you, and we're finna give you cash money in your hand. What's the problem? So he goes through all this stuff. So finally we get him to pull the dog. He said, man, I'm gonna do it this time, but you can't do that to me again. Next time I'm gonna need more time. And I'm just like, I don't know how much more time you're gonna need, but fine, whatever.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because you've been telling him for days. It wasn't like
Right.
an hour's notice.
Yeah.
Like it was
Right.
days, and he
And-
was aware that you work, and you're gonna have to do this after
Right.
the 5 o'clock hour.
and we're testing the dog every day. And every time I test her, I hit him and say, hey, these are the numbers. Don't know how she's gonna spike, but this is what's going on. Oh man, it'll probably be this day, that day, you know, which we all say.
Right.
We try to guess, but the thing is, she's gonna do what she's gonna do. The test is gonna tell you when. So we didn't have a choice. The dog was ready. We need the sperm, and so we went through hell trying to get it. I kind of got pissed off about it, so we kind of had a little bit of crossover words. But anyway, he ended up pulling the dog. We go all the way up there. We get the semen. We come back with it. We put it under the scope. Nothing's moving.
Man.
It was, don't lie. She said there was 3.
Well,
That she could count 3.
well, we didn't see 3 at first. So first I had to hit him and I said, hey man, these things ain't swimming. He said, well man, did she warm it up? I said, yeah, this lady's been doing this for over 20 years.
Right.
Like, she knows what she's got going on. Like, bro, they're not swimming. And he said, oh, tell her to try to warm it up some more and this, that, and the other. So I said, okay. So we get off the phone. She tries extender. We put it under the scope, and you could slide from left to right, up to down, and you didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden, it was like just something just comes across the screen, just moving.
Just one of them.
And you
just
see
waiting
one,
this.
and you're like, well, there's one moving, and then you kind of move the slide around, and so literally you got 3 sperm on an entire slide that move that you can go find and count, and everything else is just laying there.
Right.
And so I'm like, man, this, you know, but even when we pulled it out, it was clear like water.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing milky, nothing. and so, I mean, he could have gave us alcohol for hand sanitizer for all I knew.
Before you go, but wait, before Kevin goes full crash out on this deal, how many did you have out of that poor sample?
So after she said, hey, we're gonna have to do this like 2 days in a row and try to get all of it in that we can get in, I ended up with a 7-piece.
Oh, that sample.
I tell everybody that there's millions and millions on, and while you only see 3 of them on that one little slide,
Yeah.
there's still a lot.
Well,
good
she
luck-
did her job.
Yeah, she did her job, and the female was obviously ready because
Yeah.
what was in there got
The
to the
only
eggs.
7 that were there were fertilized.
I tell everybody
All the
though,
way up there.
Yeah.
everybody, because in the Frenchie world, a stud, you're looking at a year, maybe 18 months out of a stud really working
Right.
consistently.
Right.
Flair's going on 4 years old, and I mean he's consistently been working since he was 7 months old. But I think a lot of that is customer service.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like I have a customer this week. She's already paid her stud fee. I have nothing to gain by helping her out. I mean her dog, it's Thanksgiving.
I'll give him this in his defense. Maybe he was thinking, since my dog has been working so heavily, he needs a break, and you come get it tomorrow, you'll get a better sample.
Right.
But that's not what you said.
Right. You know,
you gotta verbalize that.
Right.
You gotta pass that.
Right.
along.
You know, and
It's
a
not
lot
for
of
me to
people
judge.
understand that if you tell the breeder, hey,
Right.
he had a breeding earlier.
Right.
If you give him till in the morning, I can give you an
I want my
A1
best.
sample.
I want my best sample. So I'm gonna say okay, because we got a 4-day window. So just because we don't hit her today doesn't
Right.
mean we can't get her pregnant.
Right.
So
You know, So what I was saying is, my customer, she already paid Flair stud fee. She's been keeping up with the numbers. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But here comes Thanksgiving, right?
right,
They already have a trip planned out to Oklahoma, and she's like, I don't know what to do, because the lady that watches my dogs is not a dog person as far as reproduction and all that.
right.
So I told her, all right, well, you test her before you leave. Give me the numbers. I'll go and test her on Friday, Thursday or Friday, either late evening after Thanksgiving or Friday, whatever we think we need. Sure as hell, we needed to test her on Friday. So we loaded it. We was hoping she was going to be ready yesterday. So we load Flair up. I go up there. I take all of my stuff and I test her dog. I didn't charge her for the progesterone test. I didn't charge her for the trip. Because the way I look at it, it's all going to wash out. She already paid me a hell of a lot of money for a stud fee.
Right.
So, I mean, and if I can help her out, great, because it will stick with her. She's going to come back to use one of my studs. On customer service alone,
Most definitely.
if you have to decide, you got a female and she's ready right now, you got to decide, am I going to call the guy that I know is going to show up? Or am I going to use this other stud that I know is overworked? I might not get a package, and when I get that package, is it going to be worth the shit? Or are they going to honor a rebreed if the stuff if she doesn't take? That's
My guy in New York, he was the same. That's how he did. I mean, it was Christmas Eve when my female spiked. But we had been in contact all week before that. I was letting him know the numbers. He did everything he needed to do to try to get me that shipment. But weather was bad that year.
And
Snow was messed up. He couldn't get it on cargo. He couldn't do anything. So at that point, but guess what he did? Like I said, he had pulled that sample.
Yep.
He knew that sample. He could have put extender in it and
Right.
sent that same sample. He didn't. The very next day, he pulled the dog again
and
to
sent you
send
a
me a
fresh
fresh sample because he said, I want to make sure you get what you're supposed to get. But guess what? He couldn't get it out that day either because
Right.
it's Christmas Eve, it's Christmas, and things are happening.
Right.
So when that following Tuesday came, this was Christmas Eve was Saturday, Friday. Christmas Eve was Friday, Christmas was Saturday, and then by Monday, he was shipping out a new one.
Right.
And every time he got ready to do that, he pulled that dog. Every time, showed me it on the scope, and he shipped it straight here. Like I said, it came from New York. And I mean, I spent $5,000, $500 to ship it here. So you're talking $5,500.
what I eliminated with the ability to people knowing that I'll pull up. So I can always back my shipping, you know.
Right.
We're scared to ship semen. Look, if it gets there and it ain't bad, I'm going to load him up and I'm going to be on my way to you. You're going to hit your breeding.
Right.
I had some guys down in Houston that refuse to do any progesterone testing or breedings if it's got Flair involved in it. If I ship semen down there and the customer takes it into them to do a TCI or whatever, they tell them it's dead, right? So the only way I could combat that was to when the customer would call me and tell me semen's bad, well, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 7 hours.
Yeah.
I'll do the TCI. I'll knock it out. We'll get it done, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. Had one of the repo clinics up in Dallas do that. I don't want to mention it because I kind of mentioned them earlier, but I know the semen was good, but they told my customer it wasn't. I drove from Lubbock to Denton. I got to Denton at 3 o'clock in the morning to do this breeding because, I mean, they literally picked it up off the plane at 9 o'clock, went to the repo clinic. They told them it was bad. They called me while they were standing there. I told them they're full of shit. I said, but here, this is what I'll do for you. I'm putting him in the car right now. I said, and we're headed to your house. I'd already been to their house before. They've bred the Flair multiple times. So I loaded him up. I drove him straight to Dallas. When I got there, I took extender. I took everything. We pulled flare. We put it under the microscope. Showed him it was good. We split the sample just like we would have anyways. I put extender and all that. Gave him the box. Done half the breeding, and then I went on my way. They had a litter of 8, you know. So that's, if you're stud owners, if you're going to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and at the time some of Flair's was $8,000 and all of that, if you're going to pay that kind of money, I'm sorry, customer service better be really, really, really good because.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't even charge that, and whenever I missed the phone call, but I don't even really think it was my fault. Because the last phone call I'd had, she was real. I think she was like a 2 or whatever it was. It was real low. But when I called back and we realized I wasn't going to be able to ship out that day because we'd missed that window, I offered to drive to Ohio with his dog.
Right.
She told me that was stupid. I'm like, well, I mean, maybe so, but...
It might be, but if you're willing to do it, it shows... I've had so many repeat customers just based on customer service alone. And I tell people, I get to talk a little more shit and all that because truly my customers know. But it wasn't just with Flair. I started this before that because I was doing mobile reproductions long before I ever had a stud. And then I hauled Milkman that belonged to Christina Puckett around all over the country. Because if one of her customers wanted in-person breeding, she would just call me and say, how much are you going to charge us to take this dog to so? And I'd give them a price. They would pay it. I'd go pick him up, and I've taken him to Arizona, to Las Vegas, to all over the place. I used it to build my name. I got in front of people and showed them, look, hey, I'm willing to do this. This ain't even my dog. Y'all just paying me some few $100 to bring this dog to you and do this, but I love to do it. But I got in front of people, so when I come out with my own stud, people already knew. When I said I pulled up, I don't mean I'll pull up in my town or the next town over. I'll pull up states away. I don't care. We're going to make the breeding happen right now. And it worked out because when Teddy Grahams and Willy Wonka had to start turning breedings down because they were so busy and they couldn't ship semen, I was out there on the road hitting all of those dogs they were missing because I was doing them in person. And you get a little better sample in person. Even if it's a little weaker sample, you get a better result than having to have it shipped in an extender and all of that. So that's where that is. But we can go on all night about all of that. But for really, our initial was just to kind of get us out there, kind of what we're going to do. We've got some guests coming on. We have
James Choppin.
We have James Choppin that is going to be on an episode. We have some nutritionists that do dog nutrition, that all things dog nutrition.
Yeah, from raw to kibble to
everything.
To how to interpret ingredients.
Yeah, so we've got those coming on. We've got just various things.
A trainer.
We've got a trainer coming on. And I know it's kind of oddball out there, but I've got some people that work at the Tyler Zoo that's going to come on and kind of compare what the dog breeding world is into the zoo animal breeding worlds, and just kind of, just something different to put out there. We've got...
Man, DNA is DNA. I'm pretty sure I carry pink.
Right,
Sure.
Yeah, you're pretty pink. So, but we hope that y'all will tune in and y'all enjoy what's coming. We are going to do spotlights of kennels. We are going to bring in people. I don't want it to be the same regurgitated stuff that you see online with it's just the top names out there that's got a social media following that's fed everybody full of shit for years. We're going to bring in the real breeders, the small people. We're going to let people showcase their kennels and what they've got going on and all of that.
Yeah, we got a Rottweiler breeder.
Yeah, we've got a Rottweiler breeder.
He said he would do it. Yeah, for sure.
Some Cane Corso breeders coming in. I've got an inbox full of people that want to be on. We're going to touch on stuff, but we're going to touch on it in a way that y'all probably are not used to hearing. We're going to give you both sides of it. instead of just the side that promotes something. As far as like DNA, we're going to cover it, but we're also going to cover the health testing and why we think all of a sudden these health tests are being pushed on everybody, and what do they really mean, and all of that. We're in the process of trying to get a vet on to help cover in that aspect of it.
You would be surprised at how many vets either don't know what you're talking about when you bring up these, like the 6
Right.
panels and what it is, or they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
That seems to be the issues. Like they're either, well, of course, I don't know how much they study in school. Like repo is only 2 weeks of a vet.
Right,
The whole education is 2 weeks.
And that's what my thing is. I mean, I don't want to get too far off and get into that, but there's a lot of topics we're going to cover. We're going to make it educational. We're going to make it fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to joke. There's going to be some bullshit talk. There's going to be some serious episodes. There's going to be a lot of information, and I hope, we just want to help people make the best educated decision on whether or not to get into breeding or what to breed to or what is. We can kind of give our ideals of what we think about the market, but 2 people with the same dog are going to sell them for different prices any day of the week. There's still a little bit of, you got to be known, you got to have a reputation, but we hope y'all will. We hope y'all enjoyed our little introduction to it and what we've got going, and we will be trying to put one out at least once a week to start off with, and get things rolling. But thank y'all for tuning in, and we will see y'all on the next one.
Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Roderick. Lock in.